My name is Paul. I am 23 years old. I graduated as a qualified nurse this year and was given my first position at a home nurse. My patient was an English gentleman in his early 80s who suffered from Alzheimer's. In the first meeting, the patient was given his record, and from it, I could see that he was a convert to the religion of Islam. Therefore, he was a Muslim. I knew from this that I would need to take into account some modes of treatment that may go against his faith, and therefore try to adapt my care to meet his needs. I brought in some halal meat to cook for him and ensured that there was no pork or alcohol in the premises, as I did some research which showed that these were forbidden. My patient was in a very advanced stage of his condition, so a lot of my colleagues could not understand why I was going through so much effort for him. But I understood that a person who commits to a faith deserves the commitment to be respected, even if they are not in a position to understand. After a few weeks with my patient, I began to notice some patterns of movement. At first, I thought it was some copied motions he'd seen someone doing. But I saw him repeat the movement at particular time. Morning, afternoon, evening. I could not understand it. He was also repeating sentences in another language. I couldn't figure out what language it was, as his speech was slurred, but I know the same verses were repeated daily. One of my colleagues told me about Paltalk as a place for debates and discussions, and as I did not know any Muslims except for my patient, I thought it would be good to speak to someone live and ask questions. I went on the Islam section. Here, I asked questions regarding the repeated movements and was told that these were the actions of prayer. I did not really believe it until someone posted a link of the Islamic prayer on YouTube. I was shocked. A man who has lost all memory of his children, of his occupation, and could barely eat and drink was able to remember not only actions of prayer, but verses that were in another language. This was nothing short of incredible, and I knew that this man was devout in his faith, which made me want to learn more in order to care for him the best I could. I came into the Paltalk room as often as I could and was given a link to read the translation of the Quran and listen to it. The chapter of the bee gave me chills and I repeated it several times a day. I saved a recording of the Quran on my iPod and gave it to my patient to listen to. He was smiling and crying, and in reading the translation I could see why. I never really took the time to look at my life. I never knew my father. My mother died when I was 3. Me and my brother were raised by our grandparents, who died 4 years ago. So now it's just the two of us. But despite all this loss, I always thought I was happy, content. It was only after spending time with my patient that I felt like I was missing something. I was missing that sense of peace and tranquility that my patient had, even through his suffering. I wanted that sense of belonging and a part of something that he felt, even with no one around. Every question I asked at the mosque and on Paltalk was answered with such clarity and depth that I could do nothing but accept them. I have never practiced a faith, but always believed that there was a God. I just did not know how to worship him. I came on Paltalk, and one of the speakers asked me if I had any questions. I said no. He asked if I was happy with the answers I was given. I said yes. He asked then what was stopping me from accepting Islam. I could not answer. I went to the mosque and asked the imam if I could say my declaration of faith, the Shahada. There is no God except Allah. Muhammad is Allah's messenger. He helped me through it and guided me through what I would need to do next. I cannot explain the feeling I felt when I said it. It was like someone woke me up from sleep and I saw everything more clearly. The feeling was overwhelmingly joy, clarity, and most of all, peace. The first person I told was not my brother, but my patient. I went to him, and before I even opened my mouth, he cried and smiled at me. I broke down in front of him. I owed him so much. After my first week as a Muslim, my patient passed away in his sleep while I was caring for him. He died a peaceful death, and I was the only person with him. He was like the father I never had, and he was my doorway to Islam. From the day of my shahada to this very day, and for every day as long as I live, I will pray that Allah shows mercy on him and grant him every good deed I perform in the tenfold. I loved him for the sake of Allah, and I pray each night to become an atom's weight of the Muslim he was. Islam is a religion with an open door. It is there for those who want to enter it. Verily, Allah is the most merciful, most kind.